How many? How many? How many? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. What did I get up to?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of How Many, the only podcast on the internet that counts. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Joining me today is Bob Gary Jr. Scott may be joining us in a few minutes. We will wait and see. But it is time for our annual How Bad Do the Cowboys Suck or What episode.
Do the Cowboys suck or what?
Where we go around the table and pick our Cowboy predictions. I tweeted earlier today, it's the NFL. Am I ready to get my heart broken again? Or maybe, because hope runs eternal if you're a sports fan of almost any team. Let's start with Bob. Any quick thoughts before we get to our picks?
I think this is the most uncertainty I've had going into a season in a long time. To add to the uncertainty is everything with COVID. You don't know how it might impact games. There's a lot of variables going on, and new coaching on the defensive side, new players. I'm optimistic, but when we get to predictions, I'm going to try to go a little reverse on them to give us some luck.
Junior?
I'm kind of with Bob. I was hoping to see more from the preseason to kind of help my optimism grow, but the way they treated preseason this year, they didn't really play a lot of the starters very much. They held Dak and Zeke out the entire preseason. So we were hoping to see at least a little bit of a preview of what an improved in-condition Zeke with Dak and a healthy offensive line would look like, but we didn't really get to see that. And plus, they held Dak so much out of practice during the Hard Knocks episodes that we didn't really get to see a lot of him throwing the ball very much after that shoulder injury. So I do have some skepticism going into the season. That said, with the division that they're in, with what could potentially be one of the best offenses in the NFL, I have a hard time thinking they won't at least win the division. I am optimistic, but I do have concerns. And I especially have concerns with the opener against Tampa Bay coming up, just because of the situation with Zach Martin, with the COVID situation. Obviously, that could play a big factor, like Bob was saying. I do have some optimism, more optimism than I normally have going into a season.
Mr. Cowboy, or Mr. Travel Cowboy anyway, Gary?
Honestly, this will be my season of no excuses, none for the Cowboys and none for anybody else either. I don't care what our injury situation is. I don't care what our COVID situation is. And in a 17-game season, I don't care what anybody else's is either. So if we beat teams that are playing backup quarterbacks or shredded offensive lines, it doesn't matter. I'm optimistic about the team being better this year. I think Dan Quinn would have made last year's defense with last year's talent better. I don't know if they've been good, but they would have been better. I think this team is more talented on defense now. I think Micah Parsons is going to be an outstanding player. He's an upgrade immediately in that front seven. And then getting Randy Gregory back, he only played a little bit last year because Nolan didn't want to play him. Put those together, they should be improved. I'm optimistic about the season, but anything can derail it. Injuries, whatever else. I don't care, though. Zach Martin's out. Okay, Connor McGovern go in. Everybody has to deal with it.
If McCarthy doesn't show improvement this season, if he doesn't make the playoffs, do you think Jerry will lose patience, or do you think he'll give him one more year?
I care more about Kellen Moore than I do McCarthy. I would fire McCarthy if somebody offered a job to Kellen Moore.
I would not want to keep McCarthy if they missed the playoffs again this year, but I don't think that would be enough for Jerry to fire him. I think they would really have to have a catastrophic collapse like the year Wade got fired for that to happen.
This is not Jason Garrett. The loyalty that he showed to Garrett, he hadn't shown that to everybody else. There were some guys that got shown the door
Chan Gailey
fairly quickly.
Well, even Campo got 3, 5, and 11 years before they fired him.
That's 3 years. It doesn't matter. They had just cleared the Super Bowl titles at that point.
And then also they were in Sour Cap jail. I think Campo got a lot of space because they knew the situation they were in with the dead money, though Dion would be quick to tell you there was nothing dead about the money. He was good.
And Jerry's probably does have a lot more of a sense of urgency the older he gets, and probably isn't going to have as much patience.
Yeah. In the Hard Knocks episode, when they showed the press conference, he was getting really emotional about the season, how much time he had left, his outlook on the Cowboys, wanting to always go in with optimism versus being negative.
I'd do anything known to man to get in a Super Bowl. That's a fact. The thing that means the most to me and I care about, and I could probably be anywhere in the world I want to be right now. I want to be here with our team.
And then he grabbed that McGriddle and he drenched it in salt.
Yeah, then he drenched it in salt. I have a feeling that he understands there's a very limited amount of time he has left for him to be able to enjoy a Super Bowl winning season before the rest of his family takes over the team. I do agree with Bob that I don't think he would cut bait on him after this season, and especially if there is extenuating circumstances like a major injury, a COVID-related situation where he's not able to have all of his players.
Yeah, my big concern is the inconsistency we saw last year. It seems to be at times inconsistent coaching decisions, like
in-game stuff.
Yeah, going for it when that doesn't make any sense to go for it, or not going for it when it does seem to be. And I realize it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback, but I do think we need some consistency. And hopefully this team builds an identity very quickly. So Scott, you've been quiet so far. Quick thoughts before we make our predictions.
My thoughts are that I hope that they don't suck this year. I've got nothing to base success or failure on. I can't tell from what they drafted. I can't tell from our backup quarterbacks. What are they going to be like? I sincerely have just been looking at this thinking, man, I hope somebody knows what they're doing.
When it comes to Cooper Rush, if we decide to just keep him as our backup, I think he would be okay for a game. But if Dak was out for an extended period of time, at that point, we'd want to give Phillip Rivers a call or somebody of that ilk.
Nope. Give me the draft pick.
If, let's say, Dak were to be out, I don't know, between four and six games, you would say at that point, tank the season. And
I mean, all of it depends on the situations, but I have no value on backup quarterbacks. None. I don't care anything about them. And I get that might occasionally bite you, but like an honest to goodness Super Bowl contender, if you lose your quarterback and you have a bus driver backup, which Garrett Gilbert could have been, we saw it last year in Pittsburgh, Cooper Rush can be, I think any of these guys other than like Danucci are capable of being bus drivers. Your offensive line can control the game. You can run the football. You've got 3 good wide receivers. One of them is going to be open. You've got 2 good tight ends, and you've got a good defense. With a quarterback, that makes you a Super Bowl contender. And if losing 2 or 3 games in a 6-game stretch murders your season, you weren't a contender to begin with. You were just hoping to maybe get hot and win a game or 2 in the playoffs. I got no interest in that. I don't want to pick 17th after a 500 season. Give me the top 10 pick.
So you have kind of a Super Bowl contention or bust mentality.
Yeah. I have no interest in the treadmill of mediocrity. I'm happy to go 3-14 now and then try to go 14-3 the next season. And there's nothing to say that it can't happen. You look what happened the year that Romo got hurt and everything went to hell. And then they went in 2016 and they drafted Zeke and Dak and all those other players. And then they immediately turned it around and went 13-3 that year. Give me the $2 million backup quarterback and give me another defensive end or a backup offensive tackle or somebody like that that's actually going to play.
I would agree with that.
I still have concerns about the defensive secondary. I still have concerns about the offensive line. So that was a freaking screen door last year. I can't really sit here and say, yeah, they did something to fix that.
Well, they replaced all the safeties but one.
But it seemed like they've targeted depth more than any sort of big name acquisitions. I mean, Micah Parsons.
He's a starter. Hooker's a starter. Yeah. Those guys were Pro Bowl starters until they got hurt, but they're not old.
Diggs, I think, will be improved from last year. And I think Kelvin Joseph is an improvement. I think he's going to end up starting. I think he is better than anything that they trotted out at the second quarter last year.
I hope so.
Donovan Wilson's getting better
with each. Hold your horses on Donovan Wilson.
Yeah, this is all theoretical, but on paper, it feels like they should have an improved secondary.
Certainly added some players. I mean, Scott's not wrong. We still have to wait and see what they do. I think the big thing is the scheme. I think Quinn will make sure that there's a pass rush. The way he goes about things will get pressure on quarterbacks, and good pass rushes make better secondaries. I mean, you don't have to cover as long. The ball comes out funny.
Yeah, the defense just compared to last year has to be better because it literally cannot be any worse.
I mean, as a franchise defense in the
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that concerns me about the defense was losing Gallimore so early in the year. I think he was going to really help the push up the middle. Now, I do like the draft pick that we are using in his place.
Or Digizua.
Yeah, Digizua. I don't think we'll see that much of a drop off, but I think the defense could have been so much better from a pass rush standpoint.
Gallimore's eligible to come off IR in a few weeks.
Yeah, he won't miss too much.
He's going to miss probably not even the first third of the season.
Does anybody have concerns at all with Dak and that shoulder injury? He's still coming off of that major ankle surgery.
I don't have a problem with the shoulder. I don't think the shoulder is going to be an issue. Do I worry about the ankle? I probably shouldn't be, but it was a break, and I keep looking back at our quarterbacks. How many times have they broken their backs,
Yeah, I would definitely prefer an ankle over what Romo was struggling with for the later part of his career where his back was injured.
I don't think I had any trepidation over the shoulder or the ankle, but in the last episode of Hard Knocks, I saw him running to his right and throw a ball 40 yards downfield. That is torque on your shoulder while you're running because you're not set. And it's kind of a hard pounding thing on the ankle because it's sort of a plant hard and throw all at once. He wouldn't do that, and they wouldn't let him do that in practice if they had any worries about it. When the shoulder first got hurt and he chased Zeke down with the cake, and he had the cake in his right hand.
I want to try the cake.
I want to try the cake. I want to try the cake.
Realizing he was about to throw it with his right hand, he put it in his left hand and hit Zeke with it. He was being cautious when it was time to be cautious. But in this last episode, I saw him roll right and let one fly down the sideline. He wouldn't even try that in practice if he was worried about that shoulder.
Now, I know me, Gary, and Bob watched Hard Knocks. Scott and Jesse, did you watch any of Hard Knocks this year?
Yeah, I did. And I kind of agree with the thought of it was kind of drama free, which that may be a good thing. By far, the drone giving us the tour of the Frisco was one of the best scenes. It was okay. To me, there wasn't as interesting storylines. There was more showing kind of what was happening during the preseason. And I just have no interest in preseason football.
That kind of stuff fascinated me, but I could see why a lot of people wouldn't like it.
I do think it's interesting, the discussion about a backup quarterback. What do you do? And Jerry has been inconsistent. There's been times when he's paid money for a backup quarterback. There's time he didn't. So we'll just see what happens. I want to be optimistic because they're my team, and I'm going to stick with that optimism. I usually go 10-6. I guess this time I'm going to go 11-6. I think, right? Or maybe I should go 10-7. Yeah, I would go 10-7. So I'm going to think that they are going to do better. I certainly think they'll win the East. And then my hope is that they go in there with a little momentum. And if I can get to the NFC Championship game, I think that's a successful season.
Like I say, I'm still not sold. I think I see improvements, and I hope Dak is improved, to the point of he pulls the rest of the team along with him. I love the fact that we have a receiving core that looks like it's aces high. I'm going to go 11 wins this year.
So aces high in tribute to Iron Maiden. All right, Gary, what are you thinking for prediction?
At first I was thinking 10-7, and then Jesse took that, and then I was going to go 11-6 to be different. And Scott took that. So I'm going to go back to my original and say 10-7. It's not so much that I don't think that they're going to be good enough. I think that this is going to be a year filled with the kind of stuff we're going to see in week one, where we've got a key starter out because of COVID protocols. Even if you've got guys that don't get COVID because everybody's vaccinated on the team, anybody that gets close contacts is going to get pulled. I think everybody in the NFL is going to deal with it. I think it's going to be a very roller coaster year for most of the teams. And I think the Cowboys are going to stumble along as a little bit above average, and that'll be good enough to win the East. And then we'll see what happens when the playoffs roll around. But if they don't hoist the trophy, it's a lost season.
Super Bowl or bust.
Always.
But I was going to say, isn't that the feeling every year? This isn't baseball where you have to build a team, like the Astros were really bad for a lot of years, but then had a good farm system, learned how to cheat. Oh, I'm sorry. and was able to stay competitive. The NFL, almost every season is standalone.
I think it's based on circumstances. Like if you have a very, very young core, I think it's acceptable. But Dak and Zeke are going into their elite level part of their career where it should be a Super Bowl mentality. Bob, what are you thinking for a prediction?
Well, I'm going to go low just to kind of reverse Academy run things. I think they should be better than my prediction. And I think in all likelihood, they probably will be better than my prediction. But I'm going to go 9-8.
Okay, Gary, you heard it. Bob is being a negative Nelly. He hates the Cowboys.
No, I'm trying not to oversell. And
I watch games with him every single weekend. I'm well aware that he cheers against them every week.
I mean, like I said up front, I could easily see them going like 12-5. They really,
it's a big gap. That's a
no,
big difference.
I didn't hate 12-5.
I do think there's a lot of variables, and that the offense, if they can stay healthy, is borderline unstoppable. And that defense, how much better are they going to be is really what's going to dictate all this. If they can get up to middle of the pack, you're looking at definitely 11 or 12 wins.
A legit offense will help that out. I mean, that was one of the problems with the defense last year. They couldn't get off the field, and the offense couldn't keep them off the field. If everybody stays reasonably healthy, should possess the ball more, which will help the defense.
Two things that could derail the season. One, obviously, is injury/COVID, but two is coaching, and not just McCarthy, but guys like Fossil. You've got guys on that staff and Jesse, you mentioned it, some of these in-game decisions, those guys can't hurt the team like they did last year. They can't do that anymore.
Is Fossil spending too much time talking about his vasectomy and not enough time coaching the special teams?
But check it out. So this thing is called the vas deferens. So it's basically what takes the sperm from whatever, your balls.
Yeah, more time punting the ball through the net and not as much time talking about the snip.
Okay, well, as for me, I am very tempted to go the bit record of 8-8-1. just so I can get as close to 500 as humanly possible with the new season. But I am a little bit more optimistic than I have been in previous years, just because I think we saw at the beginning of last season, before Dak got hurt, that this offense has a very, very good chance of being a top 5 offense in the NFL. They were elite. They were breaking franchise records at the beginning of the season before Dak went down. And if we had even a halfway decent defense at the beginning of the year, we would have had, a winning record at that point. So assuming injuries and COVID, like Bob said, do not derail the season, 11-6. I think we will win the division. I think we will host a playoff game. And I think we will win a playoff game. I think we are going to make it to the second round of the playoffs. Now, I don't know that we'll necessarily get past that. And according to Gary, that will be a failed season. But I will take that in lieu of what we saw last year. Since we just got through basically tanking for a good pick, I want to see some winning football for a change, just because I'm kind of beaten down with the losing season and hoping for, a good pick.
I think if they could get in the playoffs, they have a really good shot because the NFC is pretty wide open. Tampa Bay, they've got the great defense and they've got Brady, but there's not a lot of teams that you look at and like, oh crap, there's no chance. Packers are going to be okay. San Francisco is going to be okay. There's some teams that are good, but there's nobody that the Cowboys can't beat.
Can't even look at Brady and say that he can't be beaten because Eli did it.
Twice.
The other thing that I'm optimistic about is it appears that this team, they seem to like playing together. There seems to be no drama with our receiver core. CeeDee Lamb likes getting the ball, and so does Amari Cooper, but I don't think there is, give me the ball, I should get
In
more.
other words, there's no Dez on this year's roster that's going to
T.O.
throw a fit.
That was more of a T.O. thing. You make a good point. I don't think that CeeDee Lamb or Gallup or Amari Cooper have any sort of beef with one of them getting more catches than the other or anything like that.
I'll tell you what, put Prime Dez on a team with Gallup and Lamb and see if he complains about not getting the ball when we're scoring 35 and winning games.
Yeah.
But you put him on a team when he's the only wide receiver and he's not getting the ball and we're losing games. You're probably going to hear some get me the damn balls.
And that's
he's not wrong.
Was.
And let's not forget the secret weapon. Dak's got a damn expensive piece of luggage that he's using.
I think the secret weapon's Isaac Alarcon's mom.
Oh my God. The Hispanic Miss Price.
She's going to scare the other team into forfeits.
¡Vamos, vamos! ¡Corre, corre, corre! ¡Bien, bien, 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 bien! ¡Gracias, señor! ¡Gracias!
And our British defensive coach.
Defensive line coach. I look at him, and he looks like he's from Arkansas.
Okay, 2 minutes, third down, game's on the
I listen to him. He sounds like Winston Churchill. Oh, yeah. We'll beat them on the ground. We will beat them on the...
I'm sure if something major happens during the season, we will do a special How Many Roundtable. But for now, we're going to put the picks in the books. Interesting that we're starting on a Thursday night against the Super Bowl champs. But Chris has already booked a night at the Jackson B&B, so he's going to be here Thursday night.
Will the Cowboys CD be put in rotation before the game starts?
Absolutely. The CD, yes, the Cowboys CD will be played. The banner will be put up. And the most important thing is I've reached the point in my post-surgery diet that I can eat almost anything I want.
Nice.
For the game. So that's very good. Gary, if someone wants to reach you, how can they?
On Twitter at travel_cowboy.
Bob?
At Lukewarm Tallboy on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Scott?
At
Scott_Matula.
Thank you. Yes.
Special guest.
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW. Coming up this month, Gary is joining me on Set Listing Bruce.
Non-disclosure.
Great episode. We've got that coming up. And Junior, if someone wants to reach us, how can they?
Well, they can reach out to us via our Twitter at How Many Podcast. You can reach me directly at Metzgen_Junior. You can also listen to all of our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook page if you want to reach out to us there. Lots of different ways to get a hold of us. If you want to send us an email, it's howmanypodcasts@gmail.com.
For now, go get vaccinated. Remember to stay safe. Remember to wear our masks. Let's take care of ourselves, and we'll talk to you soon.
Dallas Cowboys. We are the Cowboys.